Precisely 14.2%. That is the exact amount of your hard-earned buying power that silently vanishes every single 3 years your money sits in a standard bank vault. You don't get a notification. You don't get an apology. Your bank app still shows the exact same numbers. But the market just quietly crossed out a huge chunk of what you can actually buy. In this video, I'm going to show you the exact blueprint a rare group of everyday earners use to completely stop this invisible tax. Best of all, we are going to look at one specific setup. It forces your money to automatically double its own momentum. And you never have to ask your boss for a single extra dime. If you scroll through social media, almost every mainstream expert tells you the exact same story. They insist that the big secret to building wealth is just raw sacrifice. They tell you to cut back on minor daily comforts. They tell you to track every single grocery receipt. They want you hoarding a massive pile of cash in a bank. They treat a giant bank account balance like the ultimate financial trophy. But here is the critical trap they are completely missing. Raw cash isn't a safe vault. It is a melting ice cube. There is a specific, highly mathematical boundary where standard saving stops protecting you. It actively starts destroying your future. I call it the velocity threshold. Once your money pool reaches this exact line, the basic physics of your money must shift. If you keep hoarding cash past this line, you are no longer playing safe. You are mathematically guaranteeing that you stay stuck. Look, I don't care about showing off a wall of stuffy corporate finance degrees. I don't care about bragging around institutional credentials. What I'm completely obsessed with is decoding structural money systems. Specifically, I look at the exact automated design patterns that separate two groups of people. It separates people who constantly feel like they are running on a financial hamster wheel from those who build permanent upward momentum. If you are the type of person who is completely exhausted by shallow, judging advice like just brew your coffee at home, you are in the right place. If you actually want to understand the raw setup of true money leverage, hit that subscribe button right now. You belong here. To truly understand how to break out of the cash trap, you have to stop looking at your savings account like a static scoreboard. You need to start viewing it like a heavy train engine sitting on a track. Picture a massive, heavy iron train engine. When it is sitting completely still, it takes an absolute mountain of energy just to move it a single inch. If you try to push it by hand, you will strain. You will sweat. You will completely exhaust your muscles. And the train will barely budge. It feels completely exhausting. It feels entirely pointless. That is the exact reality of grinding out your first few $1,000s in a savings account. But if the engine's fire is consistently fed, the massive iron wheels slowly get traction. They begin rotating on their own bearings. Eventually, once the train hits a certain speed, its own massive weight generates unstoppable forward momentum. Suddenly, the engine isn't demanding massive effort just to crawl. The sheer speed is pulling the entire train forward. Crossing the velocity threshold is the exact moment your money stops being a heavy object you are forced to push. It officially becomes an accelerating engine that starts pulling you. The real reason the vast majority of well-meaning people never get their financial engine moving has absolutely nothing to do with basic math. It is a fundamental brain and identity problem. When you keep all your extra money sitting inside a standard checking or savings app, your brain naturally stays anchored in survival mode. Because that cash is constantly visible, your mind treats it as an open pool of money. You assume it is meant to handle short-term desires or sudden impulses. You are constantly playing defense. You are nervously watching the balance go up and down. Stat: Behavioral Economics Capital Allocation Study, 2024. Data shows that keeping extra unspent cash in high-visibility accounts increases a person's urge for reactive impulse spending by over 34%. This effectively short-circuits their long-term wealth horizon. When you structurally lock your extra money away past the threshold, you aren't just shifting numbers around. You are forcing your brain out of defensive survival mode. You step into a growth mode identity. You transition from a before reality where you are constantly reacting to the world's temptations. You move to an after reality where your baseline identity is that of an asset builder. You leave the engine room completely alone to build speed. Now let's look at the cold, hard numbers. This proves how this momentum completely shifts into high gear once you automate your system. Let's assume you are consistently sending a fixed sum of $600 every single month into a broad, low-cost index fund. An index fund is just a giant basket that buys a tiny piece of the biggest companies in the economy. It historically grows at a conservative average of around 9% a year through compounding, which just means your money earns interest, and then that interest earns its own interest. To build your initial momentum from $0 up to a baseline milestone of $25,000, it is going to take you roughly 38 months of absolute consistency. It requires focus. It requires steady execution and genuine patience. In the beginning, it feels entirely straight, slow, and unexciting. But watch what happens next. To move from that $25,000 milestone up to $50,000 using the exact same $600 a month input, the required timeline shrinks down to just 29 months. To push from $50,000 up to $75,000, the timeline actively shrinks again. It drops to only 23 months. Hold on. Take a close look at that progression. That is not a straight line. You aren't clocking extra hours at your job. You aren't cutting your lifestyle down to the bone. Your personal risk didn't change at all. Yet, the time required to build the exact same amount of wealth is actively shrinking. Why? Because that initial $25,000 baseline is no longer sitting idle in a waiting room. It is down in the mechanical engine room. It is automatically generating its own capital right alongside your monthly contributions. By the time your automated portfolio scales up to a larger mature baseline, say, $500,000, that exact same $25,000 block prints itself completely automatically in less than 6 months. It happens without you ever needing to add a single extra penny of your own money. The initial phase is a heavy, manual push. But every phase after it becomes shorter and faster. Because the math of wealth grows on this type of acceleration, we have to completely change the way our culture views day-to-day money decisions. The old-school personal finance space absolutely loves to use guilt over tiny lifestyle choices. They want you to feel intense anxiety over buying a midday coffee. They want you to stress over keeping a basic $15 streaming platform active. But if you look at the actual data, exhausting your limited daily willpower on tiny expenses is statistically irrelevant to your long-term financial destiny. Instead of draining your energy trying to pinch pennies, you must direct 100% of your focus toward the 3 big levers that actually move the needle. Keeping a firm, low limit on your fixed monthly housing costs. Completely avoiding the massive wealth killer of long-term car loans on vehicles that lose value. Systematically growing your primary income or career leverage. If you optimize those 3 big levers and automatically route the resulting extra money straight past the velocity threshold, the cost of your daily coffee becomes completely invisible to your net worth. The ultimate value of crossing this threshold isn't just a prettier balance sheet. The real transformation happens in your real-world options. It changes the structural control that suddenly becomes available to you. Let's look at how crossing this line completely flips the script across 3 common life scenarios. Scenario 1. The workplace dynamic. Before, your corporate manager hands you an unreasonable, deeply toxic project extension late on a Friday. Because you are living paycheck to paycheck, you swallow your pride, compromise your boundaries, and say yes out of pure fear of missing rent. After, you calmly stand your ground and negotiate fair terms from a position of absolute composure. You can do this because you know your automated system has quietly built an ironclad bunker of cash. This gives you months of structural breathing room. Scenario 2. The sudden market play. Before, a brilliant local business opportunity pops up, or a premium investment hits a massive discount. You are forced to watch completely from the sidelines. You are entirely unable to participate because your cash is tied up or non-existent. After, you cleanly cut a check to secure a piece of the opportunity. You play offense because your automated threshold overflow has been building up strategic emergency funds precisely for moments like this. Scenario 3. The unplanned emergency. Before, the main plumbing line backs up in your home, costing thousands to repair. Your entire quarter is completely ruined. You panic, throw the balance onto a high-interest credit card, and slide backward 6 months. After, it is nothing more than an unexciting, minor inconvenience on a random Tuesday morning. You pay the invoice instantly, clear your mind, and your life path doesn't alter by a fraction of a single degree. At the end of the day, it all comes down to this core truth. Pushing your money past the velocity threshold requires the most intense discipline you will ever exert. But it is the absolute lowest price you will ever pay to buy back permanent control of your life. Once you establish this automated setup, the financial game doesn't stop. It fundamentally evolves. In our next breakdown, we are going to look at what happens when your compounding engine hits the ultimate turning point, the sovereign pivot. That is the exact mathematical line where the automated growth of your assets completely outpaces your living expenses. It shifts your focus from merely saving money to entirely replacing the need for a traditional job. If you're ready to stop playing a defensive game with your finances and start installing real structural leverage, hit that subscribe button right now. Leave a comment below with your automated target timeline, and I will see you in the very next video.